So I've had a few people ask me how I made my aquarium light. It's a 125 gallon aquarium, and I built my own LED fixtures with 1800 LEDs. And here's a little video on how it works. So the heart of the light fixture is this box here. It's actually a security camera power supply, but I gutted a lot of it out and modified it. Inside it's got a 10 amp power supply. I've got switches and dimmers, but currently the dimmer isn't hooked up on the white lights. The dimmer I had, it was getting a little too hot, so I have a higher power dimmer on order. But once it's in, both will be able to be dimmed. For the connector for the lights, I have two connectors on the side and I'm only using one. And it's actually speaker connectors for professional speakers. They're the NL4 connectors. They're they're like a twist lock type connector with no exposed metal on them. And they're also designed to be used in damp applications and stuff. They're not like a full outdoor connector, but a little bit of water on them doesn't hurt them. And the cable I'm using, although I wouldn't normally use this stuff, it's actually Munster cable, 4-conductor speaker cable. The only reason I'm using Munster cable for lighting is I just like that it's nice and flexible. It lays flat and doesn't seem to have too much memory. But that's what this blue cable is. Other than that, I don't actually use Munster cable for anything else. But I got it pretty cheap on eBay. The connectors already had. And most of these parts I actually got from either Radio Shack or eBay. A few things that you wouldn't need if you want to build one of these. You see there's an extra small power supply here. And over here is a voltmeter and amp meter. And a shunt for it. That's something I stuck on just because I wanted to. I knew the LEDs are going to be pulling pretty close to the maximum output of this power supply, and eventually I might actually get a bigger power supply. But just to keep an eye on it and adjusting stuff, I decided to put the amp meter right on the box. It's got some screws when you put it all together. So there's our display. So I'm only putting 11.4 volts into them, but I'm pulling 9.6 amps. The LEDs can actually, they're 12 volt LEDs, they say, but you could put 13 or 14 in them. They're meant to be used with cars and stuff, so a little extra voltage would be fine, but it would pull too many amps for this power supply. But also by running them a little bit lower, you'll get better life out of them. And since I don't have a heat sink on them, you don't want to run them full power all the time. They'll probably shorten the life down quite a bit. The master power switch cuts all the power off to the unit. Then I have a heavier duty switch for the white lights with the dimmer that's not hooked up, but it'll be replaced soon. And then a lighter duty one for the blue with a dimmer that does work. Again, when I had the lighter duty switch in the white, it was just getting too hot. I had some hot glue on it, and it actually was melting the glue off it. So, put a little bit heavier components in it, and adjusting as necessary. If I change the colors too, or if I turn the white off, you can see the blue's only using 1.5 amps. And then as I can dim the blue down, you can see it in the difference in the average when you're dimming the blue. But the power supply, it has a little bit of an adjustment on the voltage output, so I was able to adjust it to where it's kind of the most amount of power I'm comfortable pulling from the thing continuously. But if I get a big one in the future, I might up the voltage a little bit and get a little more light out of them. But once you get them close to their rated voltage, I found that the amperage goes up pretty quick and you don't get a lot more output. You get some, but right around here seems to be the best, kind of the sweet spot. You know, they're not as bright as they can be, but they're pretty close, but they're pulling significantly less power than when you get into the full brightness. So I'll show you the aquarium right now. I got just the white LEDs going. Looks good. Then I'll bring the blue up. The blue just kind of makes it look a little nicer. As for the fixtures, they're actually just white vinyl gutter. I got it at Lowe's. The cables, I just use some grommets. Basically, it comes in from the black fixture and passes through one. It goes into the front fixture. The front fixture has less LEDs in it. That one's easy to see here. I'll flip it over. They're the LED strips. It's quite a few. And then what I did is I just hand soldered wires across to make my connections. If you don't know how to solder, it'll be a little bit trickier to make these, but there's easier ways to make them. But if you want to get the maximum amount of lights you can and the maximum output for your power supply, you have to do a little bit of wiring and stuff to get it to work. The light in the back's a little harder to flip. Let's see if I can. Okay, I can go this way with it actually. This one's got more LEDs in it, so it's a little hard to get the camera to focus on it. You see, I got the larger white ones over here. These are smaller ones, but the 2 rows of LEDs on one strip, and then 2 strips of the blue. The blue ones are actually the weatherproof ones, but I actually found that the non-weatherproof ones work just fine. They're actually cheaper. They seem to not get quite as hot, and they're easier to solder, easier to work with. And although in an aquarium it seems like having the weatherproof ones would be nice, in reality I can't say I've ever got water on my light fixtures. One of my older style ones were fluorescent lights. It would have been pretty bad to have water on them. So a little bit of water on them shouldn't hurt them. This one's got a lot more wiring going. I got one that's kind of meant to re-glue. Anywhere that the glue that comes on them doesn't stick well, I just use rubber cement to fix it. So you got a lot of wires jumped on here. You can't hook up the cable to one LED strip and then go to the next strip and pass through all of them at once. You got to kind of jump down the middle like I'm doing. If you were to run all these LEDs off starting at one side, that one side would probably get really hot and you get a lot of voltage drop. So you got to wire them up in a way that you kind of even the load out across the 2 fixtures and all the LEDs within the fixtures. The wiring is 16 gauge 4 conductor cable. And I guess that's about it for the video. But yeah, it's just, I think, one other thing, I think it cost a little over $100 to make these. But if you compare what you would get for $100 at a store for buying a pre-made fixture, you wouldn't get anything close to this bright. And for 125 gallon aquariums, it's kind of hard to find the 6-foot fixtures as well. And these gutter pieces come in 10-foot sections, and I think it was $4 a section, and it's like $3 or $4 for each of these end caps. So doing it this way, you'd save a lot of money, and if you were doing this for a smaller aquarium, I'm sure you could get it well or under $100 to make a real nice light fixture. But maybe someone will want to copy my design. Be kind of neat if someone did. I figure if you guys like it, it's kind of a fun project, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.